Hello everybody. I thought I'd do a Gurdjieff show because it was winter solstice and I went off to the lovely Lake District and had a great time running around the megalithic stones, and I was speaking to someone about all this shit show that's going on, and someone went, well, what if this plague is actually given from nature, which is what I thought at the beginning. I thought maybe this is to do with nature. Maybe nature's fighting back at us because we're pretty bad humans. Part of me doesn't agree with that. I'm pretty sure it was released. Anyway, that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about nature from the Gurdjieff point of view. Got my lion ears in, ready to be a lion. And Gurdjieff, worked with nature all the time. He did a lot of exploring the natural environment. And he talks a lot in his books, in All and Everything, about how humanity should be working with nature because it's all part of the megalocosmos, and the harmonic workings of the whole universe, and how when we work in harmony with this planet, we're helping it develop, because Earth is going to develop into the next stage, and it's going to develop into its next stage, blah, blah, blah. But if we can be properly attuned, humans, we will be sending the right vibrations into the Earth for its development. And to do that, we have to work with nature. And if we don't do that, then the Earth would not evolve like it should do. And it'd be all our fault. Which is humanity. Anyway, we need to look at this and ourselves, and how do we work with nature? Do you like seeing the birds fly, and do you like animals, or are you swatting them insects that are getting into your house instead of just letting them out? Are you helping the mice that maybe come into your house by catching them in a nice eco-friendly box and taking them down to the local park or the local woods to release them? Or are you setting down nasty traps? This is all part of your karma and all on your conscience, but that's down to you. Do what you want. You have to do it for yourself. None of us can tell each other what we should be doing. We should be able to know for ourselves. We should feel that conscience in us of what we're doing, whether it's right or wrong, as in truly right or wrong, not just to make our lives a little bit easier for ourselves, but whatever we are doing works with the planet and with nature. And as Gurdjieff says, in All and Everything, page 39, and he's talking here about what we're supposed to be doing. We should be honorably fulfilling my duty to great nature. That's what Gurdjieff is telling us he's doing. He writes that in the first chapter when he's explaining as an author, why he's writing this book, but also what he's been doing with his life, and why this teaching to him is so important. And as I've said in previous shows, if you want to look back through the back catalogue, the Gurdjieff ones, I discuss how to develop your will, how to develop conscience, how to awaken your consciousness so that you are working and becoming part of the divine harmony. We want to work with the divine, not against it. We want to work with nature and not against it. As Gurdjieff reminds us, walking at sunset over the hills and dells, and willy-nilly perceiving the exterior visibility of those enchanting parts of the bosom of great nature, the common mother. And I made a show the other day, which I thought I'd uploaded, but I hadn't. I'd gone to High Rocks, and I'd done one show and put that up. And then I made another show thinking I'd put that up, but for some reason I didn't. Must have had a brain fart or something. But in that show, I was talking about go out into the world, go and be in nature. I know many of you are probably stuck in cities, but there must be a park, or there must be a way of getting to the great countryside of your country, or sign up for, I don't know, there must be volunteer places where you can go and work with the soil and work with plants or work with animals, because there's nothing like it. It is so good for your vibrations and for your energies to be in there with the soil, in there with nature, working with it, or an animal sanctuary, or you know, the local dog's home or whatever. You know, many of these places you can get jobs in, or you can volunteer to work there, or just go for a lovely walk somewhere in the woods, up the mountains, along the seafront. Embrace nature, as Gurdjieff said he does, goes for lovely walks. And he goes on to say on page 327 of All and Everything, according to the foreseeing adaptation of great nature, for the demands of the common cosmic trogo-auto-egocratic process that had to issue from this region, more of these vibrations arising from the destruction of being existence. And the trogo-ego-autocratic process is us working with the divine and the harmony of the universe and the harmonic mechanicalness of the universe and how it goes round and vibrations are developed, and we want them to work harmoniously so that we're helping the universe progress, because the whole of the universe is constantly changing, not in a minute or in a second, but over time, and we want to be part of that process. And vibrations, the vibrations we're creating, if we can attune ourselves or work on ourselves so that we can become more fully developed, then we are working with nature and with the planet, and then on with the universe. Everything works with everything else. As Gurdjieff says, everything eats everything. You work here on this planet, then vibrations help work with this planet's development. This planet's development helps the universe, our solar system, to develop, and the sun and the other planets, and then that affects the next, you know, the universe that's outside our solar system, the Milky Way and such like, and goes on and on and on, reaching up to the divine source. The vibrations need to work harmoniously together. And when we're living chaotically, that vibration's not being developed. Nature's constantly putting them vibrations to us, you know. I'm sure many of you have heard of Wilhelm Reich, and he used to talk about the orgone energy coming out of the mountains. We've got the energy coming from the sky, from the waters, and how they cleanse our planet for us and give us drinking water. You know, hopefully you guys know all this, but we need to work with it. And if we're polluting it, we're making it not run smoothly. You know, being a litter bug, that's bad, you know, that's not working with nature. That's letting some litter get in the way of, you know, some poor little bird or something picks up your crisp packet, or a mouse gets stuck in a jar that you've, or bottle that you've thrown into the woods. I'm sure many of you know this kind of thing, and hopefully don't do that kind of thing. But even that kind of work is important, but you need to want to do it. Don't just do it because you think, oh, this will help my karma. You need to really feel the need to do it, which is, again, I've done shows on that in the back catalogue of how to desire, how to wish to do the work that you want to do. Be the Jedi you want to be. So in Gurdjieff's All and Everything, he's talking about how humanity, well, in his cosmology, when the planet Earth was made, something went wrong. And so they had to put this Kunda buffer on people, on humanity, so that we couldn't see reality, which is quite a complicated process. And maybe I'll have to get a Josh on to do a talk about why that happened. But this Kunda buffer was like a towel stacked to us. So we saw everything upside down and topsy-turvy. And it was all about ourselves and developing ourselves, but not in the harmonious way that Gurdjieff wants us, or is trying to teach us to do, and all the other masters have been. Instead, we were living for ourselves materialistically and for our desires. But when this was fixed by the hierarchy of angels and such like, and the creatures that were coming from the divine source to create the universe, when that was fixed, the Kunda buffer was taken off humanity. But we were so programmed that we found it very difficult to live like we should be living. And instead we carried on in a materialistic, only about yourself and gaining for yourself kind of way, instead of working with the universe. And that continues today. even though that Gurdjieff is not on us anymore. It's programming. And I'm sure many of you know about programming and have been discussing this, especially over the last 2 years, the programming that's going on. So we began to work in a way that was what Gurdjieff calls unbecoming. We're not living naturally with this planet. So he says, in all and everything, page 426. Many of them semi-consciously or even quite automatically chance to notice some small detail of the common cosmic process which actualizes everything existing, and they together use it for some of their new inventions, thereby adding to the number of those new means of which during the last 2 or 3 of their centuries, so many have accumulated there, that their total effect has now already become the resultant decomposing force in contradiction to the resultant creative force of nature. So he's saying here that how humanity's changed in the last few hundred years, becoming industrialized, materialistic, is no longer working with the planet, and we're not working with nature. So nature is fighting back and cannot work with us the way we're treating it. You know, we're not respecting nature, and we should be working with nature, not against it. And I have noticed over through my life how so many people want to take control, and we can't control nature. Nature is its own force, and we are supposed to be part of that force, but instead people want to control it. My doorbell has just gone, so let me just pause. Recording is back in progress. Yes, people delivering Christmas cards, which is very nice. Everybody loves Christmas cards, or getting something from neighbours because it's all neighbourly, and we want to, well, get on with everyone. You know, that's also then part of the Gurdjieff work and many other works of we should all be trying to work together in a nice, pleasant, polite way and understanding each other. But going back to the materialism and the scientificism that was coming about, all the scientists were creating new inventions and still are, that think that they could do better than nature. And as Gurdjieff says, some such new invention or new means and employing them in the processes of their existence have now already brought it about that poor nature, there already enfeebled through no fault of her own, is scarcely able to actualize her evolutionary and involutionary process. So when we're developing ourselves and working with nature, as I was saying before about it all works with the harmony of the universe, that's an evolutionary process. It's being part of the whole evolution of the universe. But when we don't, that's involutionary, it's going downwards and making things not work and make things work chaotically and perhaps not developed the way that it should be, developed wrongly, as Gurdjieff would say. We want to try and make it also that it's crystallizing in a harmonious upward spiral manner. And I know I've got lots of new subscribers. Thank you for subscribing, and maybe Gurdjieff is new to you all. But this is something many different teachers talk about, and the ancient teachings was all about of trying to work with the universe because we're spiritual beings rather than materialistic beings. Even though, you know, materialism happened, you know, it's good in some ways, but not when it's de-evolving us and the universe. And Gurdjieff reminds us that when this is happening, when they begin existing in a more, oh, now my phone's ringing, unbelievable. This happens a lot when I do shows. Normally the neighbours put the TV on really, really loud. Or in the summer, I used to have people started mowing their lawns or something. But anyway, I shall continue. I can't even remember where I was, but I'm going to continue. Right, so I'm going to quote from Gurdjieff anyway. Continue from Gurdjieff. Always best to start there. Page 437 of All and Everything. When they began existing in a manner more and more unbecoming for free brain beings, that's us humans, free brain beings, we've got our mind brain, our emotional brain, and our physical body brain. So when they began existing in a manner more and more unbecoming for free brain beings and entirely ceased actualizing in their presences their being part dog duty, and being part dog duty is all about working with nature and with humans and just doing the right thing, really. See previous shows. So actualizing in their presences their being part dog duty foreseen by great nature, by means of which alone it is possible for free brain beings to acquire in their presences the data for coating their said higher parts. And this is what most of my shows are about, of trying to explain why Gurdjieff's saying we need to develop ourselves so that we can reach our higher self. Our higher self is constantly talking to us, but we're not listening because we're too busy, living in this world, caught up in the rat race, and we're not properly awake to it. But when we can work on ourselves, we can start developing ourselves so that hopefully we will start doing that and become more attuned to how to live, how to be a real person, the real I that you are, rather than the many different I's that we have. Again, see previous shows. We're a different person all the time. You've got your work version of yourself, your family, how you are when you're with your family, how you are with your beloved, how you are when you're with your friends. These are all different versions of yourself. And the Gurdjieff work tries to collect them all together so that you can find the real you inside yourself, the real I. I'm just going to carry on with this quote. So he's talking about developing ourselves so we can get in touch with our higher being bodies, our higher parts. I could say that for many people, they know about their chakras that go through their body. And if you really study chakras, you know that there's another 2 higher chakras. It's like, it's them we're trying to attain to. So when in consequence, the quality of their radiations failed to respond to the demands of the most great common cosmic trogo-auto-egocratic process, then great nature was compelled for the purpose of equalizing vibrations to actualize the duration of their existence according to the principle called I2 Planets. And all these strange words are Gurdjieff's words where they have specific meanings, so that when you understand them, you know that's what that's talking about. But what he's really saying here is that if we can develop ourselves, then we start becoming part of the whole harmonial process of the universe, and our lives will be much better. You'll be more awake, you'll be doing what you know is right, and you'll be following your conscience, and your consciousness will be more aware of what is happening. You become like a Jedi. You can see things. You can see how people are being and how they're reacting and why they're being like that. It's truly amazing, but it takes work, and I have shows there that can help you. And he goes on, but later, when most of them, us humans, began to exist in a way unbecoming to free brain beings, great nature was constrained to change their Fallarnitsnomanian existence into an existence according to the principle of I2 Planets. And when gradually in the presences of most of them, those definite crystallizations foreseen by great nature, which crystallizations are the most important part of the composition of the second being food, which assimilated by beings are transformed into substances for the coating and further perfecting of their higher being body. Again, for people that don't read Gurdjieff, they'd be like, what? But he's talking about if we can develop ourselves purely, find our real eyes, our real eye rather, our real one eye, but taking all the other eyes under control, we can start working with the process of nature and the universe. And that's what we're trying to do. That's what a developed person does. An undeveloped person just lives their life without any concern for anything else. And if you're watching these shows and if you're interested in this kind of thing, you're on your way. You just, looking for ways of how to develop yourselves. Right, so I'm going to do a few short quotes from Gurdjieff on this. And he talks about the tatterdemalion coachman, whose time designated by Mother Nature for self-perfection passes while he waits on a corner, fantastically daydreaming, And that's one of the main things that Gurdjieff talks about when you first come to this work. Are you daydreaming your life away, or are you living your life? When you're living your life, but not in a all about me kind of way, but living a life so that you are attuned to what's going on in the universe, and you want to develop yourself so you can be the best person you can be. You know, like the saints and the sages and the gurus that you've all read about, like the masters you know of, like a Buddha. When you're attaining to get to that kind of way, no more daydreaming. Daydreaming is one of the biggest distractions we do to keep us from waking up, or is part of the programming to keep us from waking up. And I truly believe that our mission on this planet, as well as part of being waking up, is to help develop the universe. But on this planet, we need to wake up to do this. We can't do it when we're asleep and just living our lives willy-nilly. Gurdjieff says on page 409, great nature has given him the possibility of being not merely a blind tool of the whole, but while serving her and actualizing what is foreordained for him, of working at the same time also for himself, for his own egoistic individuality. So it's a win-win if you start working on yourself. You're working on yourself, you're developing yourself to your highest, best being, and at the same time you're working for the universe and being part of the whole process of the development and the ongoing machinery, that's not the right word, ongoing of the universe. You're helping the universe go round and continue. Nothing's static. And I again feel that all these people, all these scientists that stopped thinking from a spiritual point of view in their work, is because they're trying to control everything and keep it the same. Yeah, at the same time trying to improve things like giving you your new phone or whatever. Oh, or, you know, get a faster download for your film. It shouldn't be about that. It should be, science should be looking at how to work with spirituality and developing ourselves so that we're working with the whole cosmos. Because we don't want to be a blind tool, we want to be awake. Great nature in her foresight and for many important reasons was constrained to place within the common presences of our remote ancestors just such an organ, thanks to the engendering properties of which they might be protected from the possibility of seeing and feeling anything as it proceeds in reality. And this is what I was talking about earlier, the Kunda buffer that was put into us so that, you know, because something had gone wrong in the development of this planet when it was first all being put together. Just a mistake, fixed by the angels, but we couldn't see what was going on. We weren't allowed to see it, so they blinded us with this programming, took it away from us. And we loved that programming so much, we didn't want to give it up. But we do now, we need to, if we want to develop, if we want to be part of the evolution of humanity, the planet and the universe. Gurdjieff writes, in everything under the care of Mother Nature, the possibility is foreseen for beings to acquire the kernel of their essence, their own I, even after the beginning of their responsible age also. So if you've been drawn to this kind of study, work, Gurdjieff, Steiner, Blavatsky, whatever, I don't know, Krishnamurti, you know, whatever you're into, that's a spiritual, soulful path. The soul is the important thing. That's what we want to keep in this life. We want to develop our souls. Please see my shows on the soul if you go through my back catalogue. That's what we're trying to do and we're going forward with. And people that don't want to develop their soul and don't want to be spiritual and just living this life, you know, for the day, for themselves, they're not being part of the continuing processes of the evolution of humanity. Now, there's a guy called C.S. Knott, who was one of Gurdjieff's students, but became one of the top guys and really understood the Gurdjieff work. And so I'm going to do some of his quotes because I always add some of them because I love his books. So this is from C.S. Knott, who says, what we have to do is to learn to spend our energy economically. So not wasting it on daydreaming, for example. Nature formed us so that we could have enough energy to do both kinds of work, ordinary life work and work on ourselves. And I want to add, Gurdjieff said we didn't have to go off to monasteries, we didn't have to go off to retreats. His work helps you live in this life. It makes you see how this life that we're living in outside, with my window out there, the modern world, his work helps us to see the delusion that it offers us, the mechanicalness of it. Gurdjieff calls it a lunatic asylum, but his work helps us to live in it and not get caught up with it. We're in it, but we're not part of it. We are aware of what's going on, but at the same time we're standing outside of it because we're trying to develop ourselves. If we go away to a monastery or a retreat or something, you know, it's not bad to do for a little break. It's always good to go and re-energize yourself, but not for life, is what he's saying. And I kind of feel that way myself, that it's not for life, because that's not living. All these monks are hiding away in their monasteries with these nuns, and they're, you know, saying their prayers and singing their songs and whatever. But they're not doing the work, as Gurdjieff would say. And Steiner says the same thing. He says that they go and hide away in these places and they're not encountering the demons and the devils that they should be to help them develop, because we need all these demons and devils coming at us so that we can work on ourselves and not get caught up in it. Like, you know, all these temptations that the dark forces give us, we shouldn't let it anger us. Instead, we need to work with it of, why is it doing it to us? Why is that annoying me? Why has that upset me? And it's not just, you know, it's in everyday life, things happen just to stop us from going forward. And by doing this kind of work, we learn the technique of how to not let it affect us, and instead help us see what's going on, like a Jedi. So some more C.S. Knott quotes are, perhaps this is what happened to the ants and the bees millions of years ago. Enormous creatures then, they degenerated and became a danger to the cosmic scheme, so nature shrunk them. It may be that if the degeneration of man continues, if his energy continues to be diverted to trivialities, if scientists continue to invent more fantastic means of destruction, if men continue to pollute and poison the rivers and the earth with chemicals and sprays, then nature may do to them what she did to the ants and bees. Bzzz. And Knott reminds us that nature needed quality, not quantity. But if man will not live normally, nature must provide quantity to give what she needs. And that's one of the important things in this work. It's not quantity, it's not important in anything with developing the universe and ours. It's the quality of it, the quality of the vibrations we're giving off, the quality of the actions we perform, the quality of our emotions, quality of our thinking, not the quantity. And on that note, I'm going to leave it, because what should I do? I've had one long quote. I'm going to do it. It's all about organic life. This is actually from Peter Ouspensky in Search of the Miraculous, page 138 of In Search of the Miraculous, for those of the book. The conditions to ensure the passage of forces are created by the arrangements of a special mechanical contrivance between the planets and the Earth. Please see my programs on astrology. This transmitting station of forces is organic life on Earth. We are the transmitter. We're the receiver and the transmitter. We receive in, work with it, and hopefully send back out finer quality and vibrations, and not get caught up in the downside of life and send out vibrations that are degenerating and negative. Organic life represents, so to speak, the Earth's organ of perception. Organic life forms something like a sensitive film which covers the whole of the Earth's globe and takes in those influences coming from the planetary sphere, which otherwise would not be able to reach the Earth. The vegetable, animal, and human kingdoms are equally important for the Earth in this respect. All the planets are affecting each other. I've said in my, I've done a few astrology programs, and I've done some with Kevin, who discusses astrology. I've done Gurdjieff's astrology. So if you're interested in that, please look in my back catalogue and find them there. I'd like to thank you all for listening. Peace and love to you all, and I shall speak to you all again soon. Be the Jedi you want to be.